right, guys, we have something really, really special. You guys shouldn't know this because I've never told any of you, but one of my best friends worked with Google AdWords as they developed the AdWords program. And when it came to pulling in an AdWords guy for it's actually called the Lead Society now. That's a long story, and I'm happy to tell it privately.
Follow it on Facebook, facebook.com/Lead Society.
Absolutely. So when I had the opportunity to choose someone related to AdWords, I didn't choose him. And the reason is that I like Steve better. He's also a little bit more accessible to me, so that helps. But when I realized I could have Steve speak at this, which was kind of like an epiphany, and I kicked myself for not realizing it sooner, I specifically asked for Steve to go over the things that he's going to go over today. Have any of you had where you went to a website, and then when you left, it felt like it was chasing you?
Yes.
Everywhere you went, you see a freaking banner promoting the website that you left 3 days before.
I love that.
Steve's going to teach us a little bit about how to do that. He's going to do some other things as well. And Steve happens to also be one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Aww.
In addition to being an absolute genius when it comes to AdWords. So please pay very close attention. Steve, come on up.
Okay, so basically, what Ross wanted me to talk about today is, this is called display advertising. And have any of you guys done pay-per-click advertising before?
Not
Okay.
successfully.
Successfully.
Really badly, it cost me thousands.
Okay, well, just to give you like a little bit of background, I've been doing this since 2002. I was one of the first 100 people to get certified in AdWords, and I'm also certified with Yahoo and Microsoft Ad Center. And I started noticing that, where you used to be able to get really cheap clicks and there was only 8 competitors in pay-per-click, now with the competition monitoring stuff that I do, I'll take a keyword and I'll find there's 200 or sometimes 1,400 people trying to buy the same click in Google AdWords. So I started really branching out about 6 months ago, looking for how can I buy traffic? Where's all the places where I could buy traffic and that aren't going to suck? And through a couple happy accidents, I landed into this whole area of display advertising. So let's just get into it here. So there's a guy leaving the little Google fold, and so what we're talking about here, the screenshots aren't that great, but you can see on the left-hand side here, these are text ads. And anything pay-per-click, we're used to all these text ads. And by display ads, we mean a graphical ad that's that's there on the right-hand side of that of this screenshot there. And the graphical ads can be they can be GIFs, they can be animated GIFs, they can be Flash, they can be a lot of different stuff. But they give you a little more chance to let your message go. And for people that have been marketing for a long time, you'll remember that on the right, that used to be the only type of advertising. And around 2000, between 1995 to 2000, that was a $3 billion a year business. And that's what built Yahoo to being, one of the bigger portals back then. Then Google came along with the pay-per-click advertising and stomped over everything. And in a minute, you'll see exactly how much. But display advertising has not gone away and is actually still the second largest growing area of the internet. It's followed pay-per-click advertising. So in the time I have today, my goal isn't to make you the most expert display advertiser on the planet. I just can't do that in an hour. But I have about 6 things that if you do them, it's going to save you thousands and thousands of dollars and prevent you from really losing your shirt. And I'll give you an example of how I lost my shirt. In 2005, I owned a bigger advertising agency that we took public. And one day we decided we wanted to buy some media from Yahoo, and what we were trying to do was to get free downloads for people that were going to be beta testers for a game that had been developed. So we went there, we went to Yahoo, and we paid them our $5,000 and designed the best banner we could. And in one day, we got something like 27 clicks and about 3 downloads for our $5,000. And we were like, oh my God, display advertising sucks. You know, I'm never going to do this again. So hopefully the things that I teach you today is going to prevent something like that happening to you guys. So here's the size of the market, and this is in millions. So you can just get an idea. Search obviously is the biggest still. 2012, that's projected to be a $17 billion business. But display has grown from a $3 billion business, and it is growing right along with pay-per-click. That's going to be about a $7 billion business next year. So there's a ton of inventory out there, and it's growing worldwide just as search is. So you'll also notice under there, rich media is going to be a $3 billion business next year. And I'm not going to get too much into rich media. Rich media is harder to do because it's a lot of little crazy flash things that it takes more design than I have the bandwidth for. But display ads we can do it. I'm going to show you how. So this is just another projection, very similar. U.S. just in the U.S. alone, projected next year to be an $8 billion market, $20 billion worldwide. So as everybody creates more content, there's a lot of display advertising going on along with all the pay-per-click advertising. So some guys are very, especially I figured if you're an SEO crowd, you might be wondering, man, why should I do display? And I'll give you a couple of reasons. You'll be able to retarget your best potential buyers. And later on, I'm going to show you how it works and how you do it. But retargeting is very, very, very powerful, very, very good to do. There's been a couple studies that I'm also going to show you in a second, which have proven in many, many different industries that if you're doing pay-per-click ads and you also do display ads along with the pay-per-click ads, you actually get a boost in conversions above and beyond what you normally would as if you only did one or the other. So also, back in the early days of the web, around 2000, everything was sold on a CPM basis, which CPM, does anybody not know what CPM is?
Cost per 1,000 impressions.
Okay, yeah, M is a Latin word meaning thousand, so they just say, cost per every 1,000 impressions that you're, every 1,000 times I show your banner, I want $1 or $2 or $10, whatever it is. So back in those days, that was basically it. You just show the banners, and you couldn't really do too much else. Now, some of the same technology that's being used to take pay-per-click and optimize and slice and dice the visitors and figure out which sites get conversions and which things work and which don't, and being able to geo-target, there are platforms that will let you do this. So the growth of pay-per-click has let you do more with display advertising, and that's what's driving display advertising growing along with pay-per-click. All right, so just a little bit on this conversion lift thing. There was a big study done with Microsoft, and they did many, many different types of offers. And what they did is they would take the offer and advertise display ads only. They take the offer and do pay-per-click ads only. Then they take the same offer and do display plus pay-per-click at the same time. And they monitor all kinds of different industries and what was the change in conversions. And overall, the study had a 22% lift in conversions, which, okay, that's good. I'll take an extra 22%, anytime. But the thing that I found that was kind of interesting is that
God bless you.
some of the industries had way bigger lifts in conversions. And if you see the thing there down there that says CPG, that means consumer packaged goods. And that's anything from, a box of Wheaties to, canned cups of coffee, whatever. Stuff that's packaged for consumers tends to be easy to switch brands and not a lot of margins in that particular industry. But travel and tourism, 270%, 274% better conversion rate. And I guess it kind of makes sense if you think of it like this. Like if you're searching for, you want to go to Sanibel Island and you want to find a cheap flight from wherever you are, you start searching and you might do a pay-per-click ad, and then you find some blog that shows you how to go to how to get really cheap air tickets. So you click there, you go there, you see a display ad for Expedia or whoever. Then you go back, maybe you search a little more. Maybe you click on another pay-per-click ad. But whatever the offer was in Expedia clicks in your mind. Then you just go there, and then you end up booking your thing. And it wasn't just the fact that Expedia had a great pay-per-click ad. It's that they hit you several times right when you were trying to do your search, and when you were looking at content that related to what you were what you were searching for. So. Okay, so why should you not do display advertising? This was why I really avoided doing it for many years, and I stuck with anything pay-per-click I would do, and I became a master at it. But display advertising has a few things that make it difficult that I've now found some solutions for. So the first thing is it's hard to create them. There's all these different sizes, and you have to hire graphic artists. And if you're going to upload, a whole bunch of different sizes of creatives to an ad server or something, it usually takes somebody, even at elance.com, maybe $300, and that only gives you one size of all the banners. And guess what? You're not done yet, because that works great for that network. Now another network has different regulations on the size of the things. There's all these little weird things like Yahoo. You can only have 15 seconds of an animation and then it has to stop. But at Google, you could keep the animations going as long as you want. At Google, there's no borders. You don't have to make a border around anything. But at Yahoo, you have to have a 1 pixel border around every single graphic that you make. And every single ad network has different little weird things like this. So for a long time, it was only really big Fortune 500 companies that could really get into this kind of advertising, because they had the people and they had the graphic designers and the money to actually do this. But like I said, I did find a solution. The other thing is that Fortune 500 companies are buying a lot of the display inventory because they can afford to, and they make these special deals with other Fortune 500 companies. And so it makes it a little bit harder to break into the market. But I found a solution for that too. So the other thing is, with Google, their targeting is exceptionally good. It's probably the best targeting of any place. Some of the other ad networks don't let you choose exactly what site your banner or display ad is going to appear on. They'll give you like a channel, which is a group of sites. So you don't know exactly, you can't say this site gave me that conversion, for instance, in the Yahoo network. But in the Yahoo network, you could choose, okay, I want to be in the Yahoo Games network, or I want to be in the Yahoo Finance network, or whatever. So you still can monitor your conversions, but it's not as perfect as we're used to with Google AdWords. The other thing is, if you only bid or buy CPM and your ad sucks, your cost per click is enormously high. And I've done this before, and had a $50 a day campaign, got 5 clicks, $10 a click. Good job, Steve. So, but I found a solution for that too. So, and just real quick, these are the new basic sizes, and I'll work with Ross and get you guys a copy of this presentation, so you don't have to write down all of these sizes here. Yeah, you don't have to be a stenographer. The most important thing about this is almost every ad network has maybe 15 different sizes. There's a lot of sizes that people used to use and don't use anymore. These are the ones that the IAB, which handles really the standards for all of this type of advertising, what they now are saying, look, this is going to be the standards going forward. Most of the other ones are going to be retired. One of our favorite ones that's going to be retired was the banner that used to be at the top of all your Yahoo.com and all of these sites that was like 400 pixels by 600, or 400 pixels, 480 pixels by 60 pixels, the top of the banner thing. And the reason why is, well, when everybody had an 800 by 600 screen resolution, that was perfect for the top. Now, you have a 2000 screen resolution, this little banner isn't going to work. So the leaderboard, 728 by 90, that's really kind of the new standard banner size now. And if you want to try to make your life simple, that 300 by 250 rectangle is the single biggest, most used size. And it's also got the most inventory. So if you don't have a lot of time and you want to try, to get into this, if you just make the 300 by 250, you'll get, a lot of inventory. And of course, it's better if you can make every single size, because if somebody else doesn't have an 88 by 31 microbar, and you do, now you've got a chance of getting inventory that nobody else does. But in our 80-20 rule, if you just have the 300 by 250, you can get a lot of traffic with that. It's a very popular one. So who are the major players in this whole landscape here? Obviously, we've been hearing a lot about Facebook, and Facebook is a little bit kind of, they're a little bit of a hybrid, because they're sort of like a pay-per-click ad with a little picture with it. But for the purposes of all the internet guys, they're still classifying Facebook as a pure display, so I'm going to stick with that. So they're very big. Right Media is a kind of exchange. Actually, 3 of these are exchanges: Right Media, DoubleClick, and AppNexus. Each one are like networks of networks. So with Right Media, DoubleClick, or AppNexus, you can go and buy traffic there, and you're buying traffic from multiple ad networks at the same time. And Yahoo Display Network is the original network that Yahoo first started with back in, when they first started in the early 90s. And even though Microsoft merged with Yahoo for all the pay-per-click stuff and is serving all of the pay-per-click ads, Yahoo never gave up control of the old Yahoo Display Network. And there's billions of impressions a month. They have tons and tons of traffic. And they own Right Media also. So then what did Microsoft do? They went, well, we need some ad networks. So Microsoft went and bought AppNexus. And it used to be that Microsoft, you had to have $25,000 a month minimum to even talk to them. But I found a solution for that. And DoubleClick, Google bought them about 3 years ago for $1 billion. ESPN is, I put in there, they have their own network that has a lot of sports-related sites. And it used to cost a lot it still costs a lot to go directly to them. But I found a way, a side way into them. And also, if anybody's ever been banned by Google for life, I have a backdoor into the Google Content Network. So,
And what is that?
oh, sorry. What's the backdoor into the Google?
Yeah.
I'll tell you in a sec.
Wait for the next step.
All right, so this is just a little numbers of the top publishers, like how much inventory they have. The numbers really aren't that important. It's billions and billions of impressions. So you can see Facebook, by a long shot, they've got way more inventory than almost anybody else, and followed by Yahoo, which is very, very big. They have an old network. Now Microsoft, AOL, and Google is one of the smallest in this area. That's why Google is trying to buy more ad networks and try to get themselves more into this whole display thing. So I definitely wouldn't count Google out because they have much better technology than anybody else, and they have a huge advertiser base. But that's where the traffic is, basically. All right, so that's just a little overview of who's who, what's what, and so now what do you do? How do you make this work? So the wrong thing to do is go call up one of these guys, Microsoft, Yahoo, and say, hi, I'm an advertiser, I want to buy some display advertising, show me your plans, how does it work? They really see you coming, and they'll try to get you to pay on a CPM basis, and it's going to be pretty brutal. And as a smaller advertiser, you don't have the clout to really be able to say, look, I want to be on the homepage of CNBC, and I want to be there for a month. You can't really afford to do that. So here's how I do it. The first thing that you should always think, never think CPM, always think remnants. You want remnant inventory. You want what's left over from the pie after the Fortune 500 companies have done their big deals. And that's the most important thing. If you talk to anybody from any ad network or whatever, you go, look, I just want some remnant inventory. I want to hear blah, blah, blah. That will get you stuff a lot cheaper than if you try to negotiate with them on the CPM stuff. So the second thing is, if you use this stuff, you want a real-time bidding platform. And by that I mean you're going to bid on a CPM or cost per click basis for all of your advertising using a third-party platform. And Google's very serious about this. They just bought Invite Media for millions of dollars. Invite Media is a platform that bigger Fortune 500 companies use in order to optimize all of their advertising, and there's algorithms that figure out where the best day and time is, where to geolocate the best prospects, a lot of different things to get the best return on your investment for the display advertising that you're buying. And probably in a couple months after all the dust settles, that'll probably be available to AdWords advertisers. They'll probably integrate it some way. Right now, they're just fresh from, like, Google just bought them, and nobody knows who's doing what yet. But Invite Media will be something to watch, and to try to sign up for their list when they're taking on new people. The yadayada.adready.com is the real-time bidding platform that we're using right now, and we paid $10,000 to private label this thing, and so we use it. We're real happy with it, and the company AdReady is also the company that did the recent changes in the Google AdWords system. If people are in AdWords lately, you'll notice that their display ad builder is much better than it was before. AdReady has this mass way to create display ads that they look really nice, and you can make them really fast. Their technology goes into this other real-time bidding platform called Ad Manager, and Ad Manager is actually owned by American Express. And I haven't had a chance to use it yet. They just launched it maybe a week and a half ago. But it's not that expensive from what I'm told. But those are three, and at the end I'll give you more. Like I said, we made our choice, and they all work. And so the thing with the AdReady platform that we're using that's really cool is they've solved all the problems with your graphic designer. You can actually literally go in there and just go, all right, there's 900 templates, And of all those templates, they actually will show you the stats of each template in their system. They won't show you the exact ad that was the killer ad, but they'll show you which template that ad was built from. So if you go into like, okay, finance, they'll show you the top 10 finance ads or the finance templates, what their click-through rate was, how many impressions they got, how many clicks, and you can look through, and then you can take that template, and in maybe just a couple minutes, less than a minute, you can make your own ad compatible with 15 different ad sizes, and then the system knows which network needs which ad size, so you don't have to worry about that. You just basically click save, and now, boom, you're done. And the thing that I found that's really cool to do is take the best text from your text ads, from your pay-per-click, and start with that with your display advertising, so that you just, bam, you can actually just take your pay-per-click campaign and basically move it over to display almost. So the other thing is that with both of these two, or actually with at least with our ad ready system and with the ad manager system, you can click and save a whole set of ads at once and then just change one thing. And I found a lot of times if you change just one thing to split test with, like download now instead of click here on the buy button, you split test just that, you find a huge difference in click-through rate and with the performance of the ads. And using a system like this, now you can start split testing your ads like you do with pay-per-click ads. And that's where you start to be able to get the return that you need on this kind of stuff. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about retargeting. And now technically how it works is from one of these platforms, whatever one you use, you say, all right, I want to generate a retargeting pixel. You click and generate it. They'll give you a little piece of code that you put on your website. And if you have a WordPress blog and you want to keep it simple, just put it in a footer of your blog. If you go in and edit WordPress, there's a little thing usually that has a footer, and you just add the text in the bottom. Doesn't matter where, as long as it's in on whatever page you want people to go to or on your entire site. As soon as that code is there, the first time a visitor comes, it puts a cookie in their site. You guys know how cookies work? I mean, I don't know how they work. I just know that it's a little piece of code that goes in my browser, so now sites like eBay can remember you when you come back. Well, the cool thing is, this little cookie is also recognized by the whole friggin' ad network, and these platforms have these deals worked out with multiple ad networks. So one little cookie can be recognized by 15 different ad networks at the same time. So you can do an advertising campaign to 15 different ad networks all at the same time, and you say, look, I want to just show my ads to anybody that's in my little list that has these cookies in it. So once the cookie's in their browser, they go to some other site, and whatever ad network you're buying them from, buying your traffic from, they'll go to your site. Okay, and then they'll leave, maybe they won't buy anything, they go to some other site, there you are, Then they leave, they go to some other site, there you are again. And you can set all kinds of different stuff like, I only want people to see my messages, no more than 3 times a day. I only want them to see my message, no more than 7 consecutive days. So you don't have to you don't have to be creepy about the way you do it, It doesn't have to be everywhere.
Is that all built into Ad Ready and Ad Manager?
Yeah, that's built in, and their pixels are recognized by all the ad networks I've mentioned so far, and many more that I have. So now there's a lot of crazy things that you can do with retargeting, but I think for where you're at right now, if you just only do this, you're ahead of 99% of all the other advertisers out there. If you want to get real fancy, here's what you do. You can have more than one retargeting code. So, and I've never actually gotten to a limit. I don't think there's a limit. But let's say you have one code that's everybody that's just on your website. Like if they ever come to my website, I want that list of people so I can just show my ads again to them. Then, when people opt in, they're always taken to a thank you page. If you have a different code that's on your thank you page, now you've got people who have already opted in, and you have a different retargeting code with those guys. And basically what you can do is you can show one message to people that haven't opted in, show another message to people that have opted in. So you can move them farther down your sales funnel. Some examples would be like, okay, you send somebody to your, they opt in, and then they get an email that says, hey, there's a webinar in a couple days, you should go to it. So to the people that opted in, hey, don't forget about the webinar Tuesday. Hey, don't forget the webinar Tuesday. And it follows them around. You're a lot more likely to get people to come to that webinar. But like I said, when you're first starting, just at least get that one code on the footer of your site.
I just want to mention that, back in the 60s when advertising was becoming a very, very, everywhere, the way that an advertiser made it to the top was outspending and repetition. Every time you went to a channel, you saw the Pepsi generation, or, I'd rather fight than switch, or the Marlboro Man, and it was repetition, repetition, repetition. Now you have many more advertisers that are being spread out, and so the average guy is getting like 1,500 marketing messages a day, and it's not getting through. Repetition is an amazing way to get through, and it's really an old school concept, and retargeting follows that model because you're seeing it over and over and over again. You could be the smallest advertiser, but it can seem like you're everywhere because of that. And that kind of levels the playing field. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to, just like theoretically, why does this work so well?
Cool. Okay, so that's basically how retargeting works. And what you want to do when you actually go in and make a campaign, you actually set it to what's called run of network. For any advertising network, that's basically said, show my ads anywhere, I don't care. You're still bidding for your inventory, whatever bid amount you set. But if you set it to run of network, that will show the ads anywhere within that network. And then there'll be another setting where you go, okay, I want to specify just this retargeting list. So it'll show them only to your visitors if they appear in that particular network. Otherwise, you never want to do run of network in a normal campaign. You'll just kill it. It's just awful, because run of network means I'll show my ads equally to Yahoo Games, Yahoo, email people, Yahoo Finance, whatever, and that's like the opposite. We're trying to like niche market, and that's mass marketing, which, unless you're a Fortune 500 company with millions of dollars, you definitely don't want to do that. But for retargeting campaigns, that is what you want to do. You make it to run of network. Okay, so another thing that you can do is geo-target your campaigns, and there's a couple things that most people don't really think about that I've been doing with AdWords campaigns for years, and I've been doing it with display advertising also. If you're advertising and you say, all right, show my ads anywhere in the United States, and I'm willing to pay $2 a click, let's say. Well, that means that you're willing to pay $2 for a person in Arkansas, and you're also willing to pay $2 for a person in Manhattan, New York City, equally. But those guys don't have equal purchasing power. Certain zip codes have way more purchasing power than other places, and some places have your target audience and some don't. So if you use the display advertising and you geo-target your campaigns, there's two ways to do it. I got this thing from the census If you go to census.gov, they've got all kinds of free information because they do the census every 4 years. And it takes them a while to crunch all the data, but all of this data is available for free for you as a taxpayer. They've figured out what's the income in every single county and city and almost zip code. They have all kinds of stuff crunched. And if you don't know exactly where your target audience is, you can get lists from census.gov of what you think should be the best counties and best zip codes to target. And then you can use that when you're in your software doing your display campaign. You can see from this thing, this is just income by state, like gross income for the whole state. So, obviously, like in California, it's a little more greener than other places, and Beverly Hills has a lot more income per capita than Compton in California. But overall, California is a little more green, and then the states that are yellow or white is the worst in terms of per capita income. But you can see already, even if you're advertising nationwide, some states are pretty nice, and they would be my first choice to target. Other states wouldn't be. So depending on what you're trying to market, if you use this geo-targeting even just this way, that's a lot better than just going blind and going, all right, anywhere in the United States, I'll take it. Now, the best way is actually, if you have been in business for a little while and you have a list of your buyers, now you take your buyers and you crunch all the zip codes, you figure out where those buyers are. If you just take that as a zip code list, that's pretty good. We have some guys that we work with that they're pretty expensive, but they will take your entire list of buyers and they will turn it into basically a list that profiles people psychographically and says, all right, well, Laura Betterly's a great customer, she buys a lot, so I need to find more Laura Betterly's. Well, what zip code will I find them in? Well, I'll find them in this, and you'll get a list of zip codes that have your best potential new customers to target. And that's much better than just going, all right, anywhere in the United States. The other thing that you can do is exclude zip codes. Like if your product isn't, it costs a little more and your average Walmart customer probably isn't going to buy it, just exclude those zip codes. And now you're not wasting advertising dollars sending them to the wrong people. Okay, so I don't even know what's next. Okay, here we go. All right. Now, some of the bigger networks will do keyword and site targeting. And if Ben had been here, he would now be able to find the secret backdoor we have into Google. But he's not, so he'll never know it. So basically...
It was Eric.
Oh, that was Eric, I'm sorry. So basically, Google Sites is a network that Google has for display advertising. And if you're an AdSense publisher, if you've ever noticed this, when you sign up for AdSense, they have a little checkbox that says accept third-party ads or accept only AdWords advertisers. And by default, that box is checked. A lot of guys, most AdSense publishers will probably check the box anyway, because if you have a blog, you want more advertisers bidding on your inventory. You don't really care if they only come from AdWords. You'd like to have more people bidding on your stuff so you can make more money. But that little checkbox basically lets Google allow their content network inventory to be bidded on through other ad network exchanges. So you can get that inventory through, even also through DoubleClick, but there's other ways. And if you create a campaign in Google Sites, it's almost like exactly like the way you make an AdWords campaign. You basically just, you find your best keywords that worked in the content network. It's simpler. You just basically, all right, here's my keywords, here's my bid, here's my ads, here's my geo-targeting, and here's what time of day I want to run the ads, boom. And now I've had people approved for Google Sites who have been banned for life from Google. Now, not with the exact same site. They went and created a new site, but it's not as strict as with AdWords. If you have been banned from Google and you just create a new site, within a week or two, your new AdWords account will also be disabled because they'll find out, oh, well, Ross Goldberg owns this URL, but this is related to this other one that Ross Goldberg also owns, and even though this is a, quote, new domain, this is similar to some other Ross stuff, so Ross, you're gone. They don't do that as hardcore in Google Sites. So you can get in there and buy that Google Content Network inventory with display ads. So also, and MSN also does it, although they've got only maybe 20% of the inventory that Google does. But you can, both of those guys, you can just take your best keywords right out of pay-per-click, drop them right there, boom, now you've got some display inventory that probably will convert pretty well for you. Google, AppNexus, and MSN also let you do site targeting, where you pick a channel, and then in the channel they'll show you, okay, here's all these sites, and you actually can go in and just pick and choose the sites that you want your ads to appear on. You can't choose the page where they're going to appear on, or exactly where they're going to appear, but you can at least say, hey, I want to be in this channel, I want to be with these on this site somewhere, and that usually is a pretty good targeting. So now you notice so far I've given you only, I haven't talked about AdBrite or Context Web or any of or Contera or any of these other networks that are basically second-tier advertising networks. And there's a reason, because I've tried them all. And sometimes these bigger networks can be more expensive, but the thing that they do is they're very good at policing their, they police their advertisers a little bit. Every campaign has to be approved. They police their publishers, and the publishers are generally very big publishers. So you don't have a situation where you bought 10,000 clicks and have no sales if you stick with the bigger, more proven guys. And that's what I would recommend that you do in the beginning. If you have stuff that works with the bigger guys, then you can try rolling it out. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't with the second tier players. The same way that, if you took your Google AdWords campaign and you try to go to ask.com, I've had a lot of friends do that. And I've tried to do it several times over the years. And I've always just lost my butt every time I did it. Finally stopped doing it. So, but if you go with these guys, they've had good results for me. So, and that's what I would do. That's what I would do first. So, so just to recap here, these are your main strategies and your main tools for not losing your ass in display advertising. You want to buy remnant inventory only. You want to do a real-time bidding platform so that you can change your bids. If it's not working for you this afternoon, you just change your bid and bid a little bit less. And there's no penalty for changing your bid or anything. The worst that can happen, if you bid too low, you just won't get any traffic. And then you play with your bid, you play with these things until you find the combination that works the best. Use a real-time optimization platform, and I've given you 3 of them, and there are more out there. There's going to be more on the way because this is a really new area people that are applying all these optimization strategies to the field of display advertising. It's going to grow over the next year. Most of the tools right now are still more for Fortune 500 companies, but that will change, and the ad manager with American Express is using, that's aimed at the small business person. So the big guys do know that there's a market for a lot of us kind of smaller advertisers there. So, and then geo-targeting, remarketing, keyword and site targeting, those are all your most important tools for doing this. So the funny thing is, I forgot to make this page.
Nice.
Good job. But actually, I did put, there are 2 other pages on our site. One is if you just go to yadayadamarketing.com, you'll find there's a section on display advertising, and there's a couple articles about it, and there is a master list of resources that is maybe 200 links, all kinds of different sites and real-time bidding platforms and ad servers and companies that are doing all this kind of stuff. So if you forget about the display, just go to yadayadamarketing.com and you'll get that list there.